right. All right. Is it live? Okay. Okay. All right. Peace, family. My name is Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Thank you for joining us in my week 3 Facebook Live update of my campaign for mayor of the village of Hempstead. And this week we'll be covering education. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in. I answer them right here. Chime in right in the comment section. I would love to answer any questions you have in regards to education in the village of Hempstead. So let me first say that education, the premise of education is to illumine our youth minds so that they will find their purpose and have joy in that pursuit. Now, to educate doesn't mean to put in and to impose. That's more like indoctrinate. To educate, literally, the ancient word means to draw out. It means, that you seek the best to come out. And if we don't have the best in us, if we don't possess the best, we can't bring it out of our youth. And this is the current state of education in Hempstead. The best is not being brought out of our youth. And I think we need to change the hearts and the intent of the Board of Education and the administration. Now we have to improve the relationships between the Hempstead Village Board, the Board of Education, the administration, and the PTA, because right now the relationship is minimal. We have these, during campaign time, we have these ceremonial heritage programs, but we need a serious heritage. Our heritage needs to be taught in the curriculum. It needs to be infused in the curriculum. That's the basis of education. You have a heritage. That's taught relative to the community. It's a black community, indigenous, Latino, then that heritage and history need to be put in there. We had original people, the whole planet was black at one time. That's original man. That was never taught to us in school. We had the builders of civilization, and we evolved others. That's very significant. I think the public school systems now, they reflect basically the indoctrination of white supremacy. They heroize Christopher Columbus. He needed to be put in context of how he came out of Europe. That was conquering, murder, genocide, enslavement. They brought us from Africa over to the Caribbean, through the Middle Passage to the Caribbean. That was for conditioning and breaking. And after they broke us, they brought us here to be servants here. And that need to be really taught. They just introduce us, from Africa to here, not as the origin. That heritage need to be taught. The heritage, the experience, that we have a legacy to fight against that bad experience, to turn, because the legacy of slavery still affects us. We still suffer from that. And that need to be addressed to our children, to give them something to aim for, because right now they're being aimed low. They aren't being aimed high. It's being done on purpose. When they first formed those boards of education, they said they weren't going to teach us a quality education. They would have 2 types. Matter of fact, when they found it, okay, I see some comments here. So proud of you. Thank you, brother. Yes. Okay. And if there's any questions, family, feel free. I will love to answer them. Now, in regards to the purpose, how they aiming us, when they built Howard University, they would describe, white folks were describing in the basement of the church what they were not going to. They said they were going to educate us, but this is what they weren't going to teach us. The science of war, the science of mating, that's thoroughbreding, and the science of business. And we failed, we're really behind in those subjects. So we have to take the mantle and put this in education relative to around the country to where we are in those schools, especially if we're the dominant population. Yes, I see the questions. I'll get to them very soon. Now, since we're aimed low, we don't require much. You know, so others are taking advantage of us. So now they're plotting the future of Hempstead around us. It's not for us. It's basically for millennials through gentrification. The current master development agreement is 32 acres. That's 40 buildings that they plan on building. And it's not for us. They claim this prosperity will be fringe benefits for us, but we aren't deeply included. They promise us like 400 apartments out of this 3,500, but it's not significant for the residents that are here. That may be a few. Now, excuse me a second. Yes, and I'm proud of you too, my brother, Rod. Many blessings. Yes, peace to you, Taekwon. Now, the millennials, they have planned to come in 3,400 millennials. That millennials is code word for wealthy white college graduates starting out new in life, otherwise from Hofstra, Malloy, and Adelphi, coming into the village of Hempstead. What is our current relationship with these millennials? It's none. We don't have a relationship with them. The Hofstra College students, they come in partying. They come in once a year ceremonially to symbolically clean up litter in the village of Hempstead, but they leave more moral decay behind, partying like you had a toga party at these bars on the peripheral of the village. It's really a bad relationship, and it's being done like that on purpose. They really don't want a good relationship between us. Now, these 3,400 millennials that are supposed to contribute so much to us, do we expect them to attend our public schools? Hempstead Public Schools currently rated as performing the lowest in New York State. Do we really believe that 3,400 millennial families coming to the village, influx, professionals working up in Brooklyn and Harlem, getting off Long Island Railroad, are going to enroll their children into school with us, a suffering school system, highly mismanaged? I doubt. I see your questions coming. I'll get it to a family. The Caucasians already in the village. The village of Hempstead is 6% Caucasian. They don't attend our public schools. The Caucasian children do not. They go to private schools. So that shows you where this will be going. It will be an expansion of it. It will not be helpful for us. They promised us a lot of construction jobs to build it, but it's basically gentrification. Now, the school, we're paying $77 million in school taxes so far. Now the state covers the other $120 million. That's a budget of almost $200 million. There are 8,300 students in Hempstead Public Schools. Now that's $25,000 per year per student. Now that's most districts would love that type of funding. That's proof that we're being miseducated already, mismanagement. That's either coming through favoritism, nepotism, or cronyism, which really attracts what? Incompetency. You hire your friends. They ain't qualified. We're not getting the best minds in it. We're not getting the best people that deal with the future of our youth. Now this $200 million budget for the schools, which is being mismanaged as it is, with the influx of these millennials, with these this developer could be asking for up to 40 polished tax breaks for these buildings. I think they'll go for 20, but they could possibly ask for 40. You know what type of more taxes that's going to increase on us? And they say it will be offset by prosperity that they promise us. But we know how far we could trust and throw their promises as far as the last ones. Now, it basically will raise our taxes more. Some people are paying almost $2,000 a month in taxes in Hempstead. That's absurd. And The problem is here, suppose, let me set this scenario. Suppose you are a homeowner in Hempstead and you have 3 residences, one in Garden City, one in Hempstead, one in Rockville Center. Now, you own the same type of houses. Let's say it's a 5-room house, 2-bathroom, and the property it's on is 100 feet by 100 feet. That's like 1,000 square feet of property. Now, you own these same 3 exact models of property in Garden City, Hempstead, and Rockville Center. The one owner. In Hempstead, that property will be assessed at about $200,000, and you can pay up to like $1,000 a month in taxes. That same property, here's the problem. That same property will be worth $300,000 in Rockville Center, and you'll be paying, the same owner, you'll be paying about $500 a month in taxes. That same exact model of property that you own, one owner owns these 3 properties, that property will be assessed in Garden City at $400,000, and you'll be paying less taxes than you do in Rockville Center. And that's how gentrification has been getting us. It lowered the quality of life while raising the cost of living, and we must turn that around. And this gentrification, and this development plan, the Master Development Agreement, is 32 acres, is a Trojan horse, and it's the death blow to us. It's really gonna knock us out. And that's a good way for me to segue into what I want to discuss about trust and the promises of these developers and these planners and investors of what they're claiming. Excuse me. Oh yes, my brother, I understand you too also. Let me look at a question real quick before I get this. Oh, go ahead, brother, right on, all right. In regards to education. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'd love to answer them. Now, the developers and the investors and planners' promises, they assured us, this was just last month. This is how far their promises go. Last month, they promised us at this great groundbreaking, this was December 13th, the village of Hempstead, the developer, the investor, they came up, they made this announcement, they assured all the residents that we could trust them, that they will not declare eminent domain, that's seasoned property, but that's in the way of your development, and displacement. That's the part of gentrification, getting us out of the way. Now it's the 16th, was last week, this was 2 days before my birthday, January 16th, this same investor, RXR, you know, RXR is headquartered right in Uniondale, those 2 shiny buildings, the old EAB buildings with the mirrors across from Nassau Coliseum on the same side of Starbucks, that's their headquarters, which we don't work there, we don't have premium jobs there. This same investor has 5 other investments in developments, one in Glen Cove, one in Huntington, and the main one in Hempstead. This same investor that promised us they wouldn't do eminent domain, threatened eminent domain at Gravy's Point Development to building owners January 16th, last week. So it's 1 month. So we cannot trust them. You're trusting and relying on outside developers to really provide for us. I wouldn't do it. You know, I think you need to think that yourself. And that raised other questions. And this is my premise to investigate. I think we need to investigate. If Hempstead Public Schools were reserved for this development, I mean, it's atrocious though. We are being miseducated. We have this high budget. We have sufficient funds to educate us. We're being miseducated, performing low. Now, 10 years ago, when this first development post had kicked off at the groundbreaking that we blocked, the residents blocked, because we know it's gentrification and it's too city-like. It's designed to move us out. Rhodes School and Prospect School, which are in the proximity of this development, all of a sudden closed around the same time. Prospect School closed, I believe it was the school day opening, and claiming that mold and asbestos in Washington Roads closed it. Not coincidentally with the opening of the academy, the private academy on Franklin Street, right in the midst of that development plan. Prospect School is right in the midst of the development. Rhodes is right on the periphery. Those are perfectly placed where they reserved. Who planned that? Who decided at those times? I believe that they were reserved for these millennials who aren't going to go to school with us. You ask yourself that question. Family, do you believe that these millennials will go to public schools with us? They will not. And I believe that those 2 buildings were reserved for them. And what did they do when they closed those schools? Prospect School, I believe, was closed on school day. They had to, do you know what type of turmoil that put parents through? Closing a public school. I went to Prospect School. You can see my school pictures on my page. It was an outstanding school. Closed it on opening day. They had to arrange busing to squeeze us into other classes. Now we sent our babies into overcrowded rooms where we're already being miseducated. Now we're being undereducated because of the overcrowding. And then stuffed in trailers. They have us in trailers. Is it true that they reserved these 2 schools for these millennials to send their children to school away from us? It's already proven that they do not go to school with us already, and they don't plan to. And I think we need to investigate that and see what was at the bottom of that. Excuse me. All right. Now, 10 years ago, when they first closed the school, I used to stand on Main Street in front of the fish market, and I would point right down to Prospect, and I would say, I used to go to the school, and it's a shame that they would close it like that. And actually, Rhodes School has a grant to be refurbished. They refurbished Prospect already, but I believe they were planning to have millennial children attend these schools while pushing hours into overcrowded schools. I would point down to Prospect School, and I would say, if Prospect School was a jail and Washington Rhodes was a jail, the administration would force inmates to clean up that mold to get those facilities back into productivity. Why? Because they get more a return on their investment of criminalizing us in the prison industrial system than they do educating us. That's my premise, brothers and sisters, and that is unjust. Why we have to educate our own, and we need to investigate that. We need to bring that into an open public forum and discuss who the plan is. Let's see why wasn't this presented to us? If it was planned for them, this should have been presented to the residents. Too much secrecy, too much tricks, too much distrust going on with them, and lies and manipulation. We can't. Now we have to turn to our own people around the world, our own brothers and sisters. Do you know, brothers and sisters, that we can get free medical education for our children in the communities in Cuba? Cuba will train them to be doctors. 145 Americans are already participating in this program, and I have I'll post the link on the comments section after I finish this. And 2, I believe, students from Muhammad University have graduated that program, coming back into the communities to serve our communities with medical care and health care. We could send our babies to Cuba if we get grants for transportation, for free medical education, because Cuba care. They love their people. Fidel Castro, may Allah be pleased with him, loved his people. That's why he educated them, fed them, gave them free medical care. And when Katrina hit, do you know that Cuba got hit by the same Hurricane Katrina as we did in New Orleans? And all that death and suffering and abandonment in New Orleans that we suffered could have been avoided. Cuba had 1 fatality because they moved their people to high ground, and they cared about their people. In New Orleans, Cuba literally offered doctors to come help us, to help during that flood, and America rejected the help. This is why we must rely on our own friends around the world to provide of us instead of our open enemies who are deceiving us every turn. They never can we trust them. Now, until then, we have to homeschool our children, and research have proven that homeschooling develops a healthier self-image in the child. Also in public schooling, martial arts, meditation, and getting rid of the fashion clothes, to kill those rivalries amongst our street organizations in schools, to get them in uniforms, to get them focused. All 3 of those have proven to help the self-image of our children and increase their performance in school. And I'll post those research on homeschooling in the link in the comments section after I finish with this. Because we got to come up with alternatives for ourselves, brothers and sisters, because we're relying on others to do it for us. They're very apathetic. They don't care. Some good people are involved, but they don't have a voice. They won't stand up. They must stand up today to help us. We have to help ourselves. Excuse me. Yes, Pena says, Muhammad, can you define millennials' age range for the viewers? Oh, sure, I'll answer that question for you right after I finish, Bina. Now, getting back to the improvement in homeschooling, we have to change the learning. We have to change our intent. You know, learning, I went to private school and public school. When private school, I was taught before you even go into the classroom, you have to study that subject. You have to know the subject. Actually, when you go into the classroom, it's review. And we have to increase the learning and bridge that gap. You see the gap between not caring and they're dropping out because they're uninspired. So those of us who do know, we have to come back and help and educate our own because we have a brain drain in our community. Those who become professionals, one of the first things we want to do is leave the community. I'm getting out. I don't want to be involved. You know, the community is bad, it's going down. Well, hey, we're being gentrified. As we're being gentrified, we must do something for ourselves to stabilize our future here because others have a stake in it and they don't want us here. Now, I'm offering to do a mom's program in the schools. This is us getting involved to have parents literally present in the public schools. And I was speaking to a good sister of mine of the PTA, my sister Patrice, and she said, and she enhanced what I said. She said, not only should we do moms, but we should include dads. Let's do moms and dads, a program present. These are interactive, proactive parents being in the school, present, there for the children. That's a good positive effect on them because back in the days, a lot of the teachers we knew were from the community. So we related to them, we respected them. And that's the type of teamwork we need, of us bridging the gap between the community, the Parents Teachers Association, the board, and the Board of Education and that administration. Now, we have to teach our children business and entrepreneurialism so they won't have to beg the enemy for anything. They won't have to rely on outsiders for jobs who break their promises every time. Entrepreneurialism, they have to learn that. We have not learned that in school. I didn't learn our history. I didn't know anything about the Olmecs. I didn't know that black people were the builders of civilization over here in the West. The Olmecs started pyramid building thousands of years ago. And Caucasians were backwards up in Europe. Some of the civilizations we had go back 12,000 years. Göbekli, we buried civilizations in Turkey. 12,000 years ago, a temple with surrounding areas. We buried, perfectly preserved. We traveled over here. I didn't know that. So we have to expose them to productive things. In their own business and entrepreneurialism, we can start them with micro-farming. Every school should have a plot of land reserved for farming, where the students learn how to farm, how to grow produce, how to take it, learn business accounting, learn bookkeeping, how to do a business. We need a farmer's market in Hempstead. But we can take that produce and let them market it, let them learn how to sell, let them be proud to take some of that produce and serve it in the cafeteria of their schools. And that will teach, that's hands-on business skills. Now I'm looking at other questions here. And right, I see your question, Anthony. I'll get to your question also. I have Sister Bina. Let me see the questions. That's Bina, I see your question about the millennials, and also Anthony's asking about the redevelopment as well as the business and more government employees. Okay, I'll get you a question right after this, my brother. Let's see. And as they're taught entrepreneurial skills, we have to nurture them. Right now, they have that low nutrition food, that processed food, junk food, all that sugar in them. It's riling them up and it's not getting them focused. And we are giving them Ritalin. That's a psychotropic drug. Psychotropic drug, Ritalin. That's like with cocaine and LSD. That's right in league with that. And we're giving this to our children to pacify because we can't handle them. We have to bring out their talent and let them explore and be a creative, to increase their creative thinking, to create their new reality. Because we have given up and we have relied on others and they're taking advantage of us. they have to, they'll do it. Our youth will build a future for us because we've given up and we rely on others and they're crushing us. Now let me see, in regards to questions, and I'll put the links for the quotes that I just made, the sources, the links after the interview. Now let me answer some questions. That's Bina, but I'm saying we must be the inspiration for our youth. Can you define millennials' age range? Well, millennials are like new college graduates or people coming out of school starting a life. Millennials are supposed to be new college graduates, people starting out in life. So this age range is defined depending on other places of the country. But mainly what they have planning for their future is we need to investigate why these schools were closed and reserved for them. So millennials, they can be right after graduation, but I don't know if there's an exact range, but I know these are millennials are usually portrayed as college graduates coming out in life, making a new life. And they're not doing it to our detriment. They're not doing it over us. We are going to be the ones in the community to develop for ourselves. They will have to come and help us. We don't have a relationship with millennials coming to Hempstead, helping us. Those college students mainly are coming in, they party. They spend, hostel students right now, when they graduate, they come into the bars, party, and they patronize a few of those restaurants. We don't own those restaurants. Matter of fact, as a part of the development that they're a part of, in which they won't be paying property taxes, we aren't the banks, the community-owned banks, black banks, or community-owned banks, lending those tax credits, bonds, out to the developers. We aren't the investors. We aren't a major part of it. We're just coming in, hoping to get the crumbs of whatever they offer us, and it's very deceptive. Matter of fact, those jobs are not even careers. They promise thousands and thousands of jobs. Matter of fact, they can't even call them jobs. They have to call them job years. They have to put it in quotes because it's not. We don't have all these careers with RXR, and we can't trust them. We don't work for them now. We have to create our own reality, and it's unjust. So, so they wouldn't be going to high schools, as you said. No, they'd be entering schools. They have, I believe they're children. I said they're children. Millennials aren't high school students. I believe they're elementary students. Millennials won't have established families. It depends on who they let. We don't know. We really can't trust them. Their website said, you go to Renaissance downtown websites where they say we want this development for millennials. You go to their website. They're the ones who say it's millennials. I know it's, look at the income bracket they want. That should tell you who's coming in. Look at the income bracket of those in the Metro 303. Look at the income bracket of those in that, what was that, the new development behind the Country Life Press. Look at the income bracket there. That's the same stream they want. They want that seamless to be an extension of that. Yes. So we definitely have to research it. And this is my issue. Bina, and thank you for your question. Anthony, I'll get to yours. Right, and Anthony, I'll get to your question right after I answer my sister Bina's. This should be brought before the residents. We need a forum where we present different models, where we can sit down and discuss this and find out the facts and see what effect an industrial model will have, what effect a smaller model will have, mainly towards retail, what effect another model will have, medium size, more towards visitors, building, not visitors, or tourists, for tourism. So as many options we have. It was never presented to us. The closing those schools was never presented to us. The planning, we need to know. That's what I'm saying. Present it to the residents. Let us decide. Instead of this secret planning coming at the last minute with all these promises to a few. Those promises are to a few who've been promised favors. And those favors don't affect the whole, and they don't bless us. They're for a few, and that need to be exposed. Sorry for me getting excited, sister, but that's how it is. They haven't been fair dealing with us, and I don't expect them to, because I know what gentrification is. It's detriment to us. It's designed to keep us off balance. Excuse me. All right. I hope that helped you somewhat in your question Bina, my sister. Now, Anthony, think about it. It's just Anthony Ford. Think about it. Recent years have seen the redevelopment of the village as a government center as well as business center. There are more government employees from all levels of government in the village than there are in the county seat of Mineola. Yes, the courtroom. Yes, the courthouse and right, brother. The courthouse, the jail, not the jail. The courthouse and the traffic court. Yes, the courthouse, traffic court. A lot of business there, and those buildings don't pay property taxes. We benefit off of that traffic, the foot traffic that comes through there. The village benefits supposedly off of the foot traffic. Now, that's a problem with traffic court. You know, they've stepped up traffic. If you see Mangano, he just tried to pass this high tax. It's literally a sneaky tax on tickets and parking and red light cameras. Ridiculous. $200. Supposed to be for Nassau County Police clamping down on the terrorist threat to Long Island, on them increasing that, you know, the policing against this terrorist threat to Long Island, which is imaginary. Now, because they locked up a lot of drug dealers. They've locked up a lot of people selling drugs for minor things. They locked up so many people. Now they turn to traffic. Now it's tickets. And now they're putting in traffic cameras all around the town. They get your license plate. They let you know where you at. They give your status, right? So now they're getting money, revenue from tickets. And a lot of people coming out of 16 Cooper, I know for sure, are not in the spending mood. A lot of people who come into Hempstead, 16 Cooper, after you leave traffic court, you're not in the spending mood. You may buy, you know, you getting up out of here. And a lot of them, those parking meters and that ramps, the 3 ramps where this developer tried to sneak in an apartment complex in the middle of this parking lot. And they say they would not threaten us with eminent domain of surrounding areas to create access to that and parking. It's the parking lot next behind 16 Court. A lot of those meters aren't working. So you're getting tickets in there. You come in to pay for a ticket and the machines aren't working right. They don't, all the lettering is scratched off, and people are upset. They're not in the spending mood. So you're right about those government buildings. But we need to sit down and discuss this as a community. This need to be in a forum. We need to go like somewhere like Kennedy Park or school, somewhere where the community comes together, and we need a live web session like this where all our officials, all those involved, all those concerned, all those making the decision, all those making proposals can chime in, can be present, and we all can have input. That way a lot of us can attend. A lot of us aren't attending these meetings. And like I said, in regards to the moms and dads, that's to be interactive and proactive. We can't wait till there's a conflict. That there's a conflict at school with our child and something ain't going right, and then we come up and then, you know, we come as a complaint. We have to be present, interactive, and proactive in the schooling of our children. It need to be a paradigm shift in that. Education, please. I mean, there's a stark difference between private school and public school. You know, they intentionally aim us low. We have to aim us high. And if our children trust us, they believe in us, and we affirm, we're examples, our children will pave a future for us. And they'll be proud to say that we stood up and did something for them to break this cycle. It's a sad cycle, you know. Everyone's asleep. As I was saying, you can't wake up a frightened people pretending to be asleep. You know, we have to be strong. I thank you for your questions. And right, so that was Anthony and Bina, and other people chimed in. See, this Facebook Live, you can't see earlier questions once they go down. I'm sorry. If you have a question, fam, please chime in. I saw to here. Yeah, I saw another question. That's basically what I wanted to say about education. And also, feel free to inbox me also, because next week I will be covering policing in the community. Because we have to do this. That must be restructured also. And please, family, I'll post the link to the sources I quoted, and contribute to my campaign with a donation to help me out, help me get the message out, help my campaign. so that we can be the change we've been looking for in Hempstead and be active in doing it. So family, if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank you for your time, listening in on a brother on Sunday. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And I'll be seeing you in the community. I've been walking around in the community and it's been good reception. And some people, you know, we have our doubts about the future, but we're the ones who have to make that future. We can do it, and I know we can. Peace and blessings, family. Have a good evening.